it says, this next question is, what qualities did you like about your speech therapist? Now, I still remember my speech therapist. It tells you that I'm 60 years old. And I still remember my speech therapist from, I think, what was it, first grade, second grade? It was one of them. Her name was Mrs. McMullen. I never forgot her. I have never forgot her. She was a gem. She was sweet. She was a very, very nice lady. Now, when I was young, like I said, we lived in a nice neighborhood. And this was when, I guess you can say, the city was transitioning to be more, more overwhelmingly black. What do they call it? The white flight. But in our neighborhood, it appeared that, there were white people there a lot longer than most. So in our schools, a lot of the instructors were white. And Mrs. McMullen was white. And not that that has anything to do with it, it's just the fact that, but she was weird. I mean, she was so weird. And but she was sweet. She was a gentle, lovely lady. And what I liked about her was the fact that she was very patient. And everybody back when I was younger, they all assumed that I was mentally challenged. Back in the olden days, they used to say retarded. But they felt that I was mentally challenged. A lot of people had given up on me. And Mrs. McMullen always assumed that I could do whatever work she put before me. She made sure that I talked. She made sure that I constructed my syllables correctly. While they were teaching a version of reading when I was young. I have no idea to this day. I don't know what they were. Oh gosh, it's absolutely incomprehensible. Look at the picture, read the words, and oh gosh, assume this and do that. It was horrible. And understand that as an autistic person, I couldn't understand. I wasn't really good at comprehension. I wasn't very good at cognitive studies even back then. And they had this version of reading comprehension that made no sense to me at all. And while I could call out the words, because calling out the words, that's not reading, that's code breaking. And I was good at code breaking, I knew how to break a word down into its constituent parts. Now, I wasn't incredibly good at it, but with Mrs. McMullen, I became incredibly good at it because phonics. Mrs. McMullen taught phonics. And the sounds that all of the vowels and consonants make, the different pairings, CH, church, all the different things. So, I got to be really good at that, but what Mrs. McMullen taught me is that in order to speak, I had to become more patient. Because my brain flies along at 3,000 miles an hour, and my mouth, because of the cerebral palsy and everything, does about 30. So I'm thinking about 10 things in the time it takes my mouth to say one. So my speech was really bad. The other thing is that because before Mrs. McMullen, I didn't say very much. It's hard to believe, but before Mrs. McMullen, I was pretty much nonverbal. And the reason is one, I didn't really give a damn about this neurotypical society. All I learned about neurotypical society is that it was a great deal of pain. Social overload, physical overload, sensory overload, unfairness, pain, everything is horrible. And honestly, I always found out that, well, you know, if I don't say anything and if I don't do anything, I don't really get in trouble. So that was a really good reason to remain nonverbal. And Mrs. McMullen used the speech therapy to bring me out, to say that, well, the problem with being nonverbal, Wolf, is the fact that if you don't speak up for yourself, people will still take advantage of you. And so very carefully, very slowly, she worked with me to the point to where I became more verbal. She would engage me in conversation. And she never made me feel like I was stupid or crazy or retarded or whatever word you want to throw at it. And so the fact is, I like Mrs. McMullen because she woke me up. She made me happy to be alive. You know, yes, and the thing that she really gave me is the fact that she taught me that reading was more than just calling out the words. It was more than breaking code. Reading is about comprehension. What do you learn? Understanding the context. And that was hard for me because when you're autistic, you don't understand the context. And when you don't understand the context, the words don't have as rich a meaning. And it wasn't until Mrs. McMullen that I realized, you know what? In order for me to understand what I read, I have to study neurotypical people. And in order to study them, I have to ask them questions. And Mrs. McMullen didn't just teach me how to form the sounds. You would think that's all a speech therapist does, but no. Mrs. McMullen gave me the understanding of why I needed to speak, why it was important to speak. And for me as an autistic person, understanding the why was just as important as learning how to form the sounds. I'm a man with cerebral palsy, so speaking doesn't come easy to me. That's why these videos don't get very many views, because I'm not all that, you know, impressive. I know that. I put these videos out because I hope it helps somebody. If it helps 15 people, I'm happy as I can possibly be. But like I said, that's why I enjoyed my speech therapist, and that's, you know, she was a phenomenal person, phenomenal qualities, and I'll never forget her. Mrs. McMullen, my speech therapist.